What is everyone missing about this bull run? Why does the puzzle seem to be incomplete? We feel like we know what's going to happen, and then something happens and it catches us by surprise. Why does this feel truly different from the other cycles? Well, in this video, I've got charts, I've got expert analysis, and I've got some psychological steps I want to take you through in this journey today to help you better understand this market and help you ideally be ahead of the herd. Now, before I get into it, as you all know, make sure if you find yourself enjoying this video or learning something new, because that's the goal of my channel, is to actually help you support all I do with a like, make sure to subscribe with that bell on, and let's begin. Firstly, the most important thing I think we've learned so far from this, whether we have a bull run, go sideways for a while, or have a bear market that happens in the short term, the most important thing for you is to be risk adverse. Be very careful where you're allocating funds. As they say, don't put in any more than you're willing to lose. And I think a lot of you guys who went way down that risk curve and went straight to micro cap altcoins immediately have learned the lesson, because you're probably down 80-90%, whereas the large caps are still down a gut-wrenching like 40, 50, 60%, but you feel so much worse off and you weren't thinking about the risk of it actually coming down, which obviously crypto is always susceptible to do. So first of all, I want to talk more about psychology and what's happening in the sense of manipulation, because as you should know, this market is manipulated. All right, if the 3 days here moving sideways in Bitcoin's price, or the 4 days here moving again sideways in Bitcoin's price, or the more recent Trump pump and dump, it's manipulated beyond belief, which is a scary thing. The thing is, though, whales like making money, and I'll tell you how they're making money right now, and I'll give you at least the solid reason I do believe as to why they'll want to actually push this market up in just a second. But this chart looks at the short-term versus long-term holder net position change, which pretty much means the green up here is long-term holders. So when you see this spike, that means the long-term holders are accumulating, adding to their positions in Bitcoin. And when this spike's red, that's of course meaning that short-term holders are buying and buying and buying. And as we know, short-term holders mostly comprise of people like me and you, retail, more emotional investors. And one thing to note is recently here, this chart has again flicked green. So the long-term holders, the whales, the guys who are like in this for the long term, these guys are buying at a time when fear and greed has never felt so bad. I mean, we hit a score of 10, which we only ever hit 6 times in history. So of course, these guys are buying the fear. And I don't have to tell you what Warren Buffett and the guys that came before him and any other half-decent investor has said since the beginning of time. When retail, most people, think about it, are in fear, when they're scared, when they want to sell, that is the best time to begin buying. Take the 2008 GFC. I know people who were selling out of their positions they were accumulating for the longest time at the bottom, because even financial advisors were telling them to get out. It is not worth the risk. And guess what? That was the best time to buy. Now, of course, assess your own risk. I'm not telling you guys to buy. But again, just think twice about maybe what the so-called dumb money is doing and the smart money, and make a decision there. This manipulation game that these market makers, centralized exchanges, and some of the VCs are playing is very profitable. Don't get me wrong, these guys are making lots of money. They're averaging about $1 billion in revenue per day from liquidating the longers, okay, down here, and the shorters. And they use this. They use macro news as well as crypto news, like the summit, like Trump signing the strategic reserve. They use these macro and micro events to help sway whatever they're doing so they can liquidate people and make more money. As Marty Party says, $100 billion a day is bet on crypto, with daily liquidations often hitting $1 billion. This is 10 times more than all casinos in Vegas and 8 times more than all global sports betting. This is the largest casino in the world by a magnitude, and it is unregulated. Almost every single pump that happens again in crypto, or every single unfavorable situation that does pop up in the news, these guys will take advantage of, swing it in that direction, because it's just like pushing a ball down a hill. You just do a little nudge and it does the rest for you. And then of course they buy that dip, or they of course sell the top and they make their money. I mean, I just pulled up a fractal here on a few videos ago, and this is playing out perfectly right now, or roughly, with what happened, of course, over here. 9 times out of 10, it is not different, and it's not the breakout, so be very careful. Always look macro, and that's some of the charts and some of the expert analysis I want to pull up in a second. Guys, the game is very simple at this point, and we should know it like the back of our hand. The game is to make us wait. That is how you pull up these fearful charts. That is how you actually cause capitulation. It's just waiting, okay? We all know, as you should know coming into crypto yourself, that there was going to be a bull run, or at least that's the thought we now have. Most of you guys are probably right down there in the comments right now saying, Kyron, you're an idiot. It's the bear market. Shut up, dude. Tell us it's the bear market and get it over and done with, all right? Stop being a bull, okay? But a month or two ago, you guys if I said I was bearish, you guys would have said that, shut up, dude, it's a bull run. So what they do to flip that mindset is to make you wait, okay? All through about this point here, I clearly remember, okay, back last year, guys were crying about the bull run being over. We pumped and they forgot all about that. Then they were bullish again, okay? And if you're a bear up here, okay, then you would, of course, been crucified. And now being a bear is normal again. It is psychological warfare, and this is how they make their money. This is max extraction to the highest order. This is them making the most money possible, propped up on endless good news. Endless good news. Even one of these things, take a pick on this chart, would have sent the price in a previous bull run parabolic, would have made a God candle come out of Bitcoin and alts would have followed. Okay, this is them drawing it out, keeping the bull run alive based on all this good news to max extract all of the longs and the shorts, the leverage traders, to make the most money, to put it in, to eventually, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I still believe, eventually pushing us into some sort of rally like euphoria point like we have seen in the previous cycles. Compared to 2017, 2017 had a flurry, a plethora, an extended endless sea of bearishness. You can see all the bearishness that happened over here. These weren't small things. Again, I've made it an important point to just point out the big green bullish stuff and the really bad bearish stuff here. So they had a lot, whereas compared to right now, I've only really had again maybe 3, maybe 4 things. Maybe I'm missing 1 or 2 things here and there, but we've had so much good stuff happen. Again, it is sentiment. Now, do not get me wrong, guys. We need macro conditions to be better. This is the thing you need to understand. The one thing these guys cannot manipulate is what happens in the macro cycles. And this is what I am personally waiting for to actually have any confirmation of a bull market or, again, in the worst case, a bear market. They can't do anything about it, but trust me, they will definitely make sure before that next move goes up or that move down, they will swing price in either direction. They will continue playing their games. They will continue max extracting until the macro flips. Julian Battelle, one of the top guys over at Real Vision, Raoul Paul's Real Vision. Yeah, this guy's also pointed out a great chart here, which we can see the Dixie basically is absolutely tank, or at least the percent change of the deviation has plummeted. It's only ever happened 4 times since crypto's been around, and just a massive red candle here has printed on the week. And you can go have a look for yourself, right? It's only happened 4 times in history, this being the 4th, and every single time it's proven to be sort of like a bottoming for Bitcoin, all right? Now, again, not saying it's going to happen again. He claims here financial conditions are easing. Of course, if you look at the news and the headlines, things look quite scary. But if you actually look into some of the indicators I'll look at here in a second, they do look quite good. So again, let me just remind you all, Bitcoin here is now within the standard person's investor portfolio, okay? It's just the furthest edge of their portfolio in the risk curve. Altcoins are over here. Ethereum isn't even in that realm yet. And so why I'm saying this is that you absolutely do need global liquidity going up. You need the economy at large, booming, or not even booming, I would say, just at least continuing going up, right? Essentially easing in order for us to have people go, okay, well, I've got expendable income. I'm able to pay for living expenses. I am now going to take the jump into altcoins because ultimately, it's never been easier for people to buy crypto. Go back to 2017, go back to 2021. Onboarding into crypto was much harder, all right? Not only have we got more options, the options are making it easier to buy. Look at Coinbase smart wallets. And then even if you're using decentralized exchanges or any on-chain service, it is a lot more simplistic to use, especially now with the advent of AI agents. Now, back in the ICO bull run in 2017, we actually weren't even in QE. The bull run didn't really ignite because of QE. The bull run ignited because global liquidity was going up. This is the Fed's balance sheet here in blue. You can see we're actually neutral. Now, we're still in QT, all right? But again, Bitcoin is actually a global commodity, not a US commodity. I, in my opinion, would just like to see a neutral period here, which supposedly on the last Fed's minutes, they're expecting here to come in June. Now, Could they pivot? Could it be QE not long after? I'm not sure. Ideally, that would be great. But again, I don't think that we necessarily need it as I am currently looking at it right now. Guys, if you're still unaware, okay, Bitcoin and therefore altcoins and crypto is, I believe right now, forget about syncing, it's synced up to global macro cycles. You can see here, this is the QQQ, the NASDAQ top 100, okay, Invesco's sort of index for this. And if we just overlay Bitcoin's price, you can just see how correlated it really is getting these days. Now, notice that if we zoom into the current times here, we can actually see that both of these are actually falling down quite a lot. If I get rid of Bitcoin, you can just see the NASDAQ top 100 kind of taking a bit of a plummet. Okay, why? Well, again, it's because global liquidity has began to fall. It started falling, when was this? About December-ish. Okay, and it's really come down since. Now, the thing is, there is a lead that the global liquidity has on both of these sort of, you could say indexes, right? Bitcoin and the QQQ. Now, why I'm pointing this out to you is, again, this is expected to end around mid this month to around the start of April. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that just assessing global liquidity is the best thing to do. But as far as history's taught us, I mean, global liquidity tends to move even the largest existing equity markets, let alone a nascent, much smaller one like Bitcoin. I mean, these whales will definitely use it to suit their particular needs. And we do have quite a lot of shorts opened up above our current price range. So it would make sense they may want to look at, pushing it up. And I think drawing some comparisons here to a couple of different macro cycles, particularly over here, which is global liquidity, and also the ISM index. Essentially, it's just a gauge into how some of the top businesses in the United States are performing. So it's pretty much a pulse on the US economy. Okay, so this is what I'm mainly looking at. Like, the tariffs are one thing. Of course, it's very, again, up in arms about that. And it's obviously very draining to constantly see, Trump push them into existence and then pull them out and put them on pause. That's draining, but I am just cutting through the noise with keeping my fingers on the ISM PMI index. Needless to say, I've pointed this out a few times, but we can see Bitcoin's price up here. This is back in 2015 through to 2017. So again, it's the ICO bullrun we're seeing over here. And I've just drawn some comparisons. First of all, there was 5 total touches in this ascending channel towards the top. Okay, channel 3 was one to note because this was kind of like what I'm looking for here for us to actually go up in this bull run, because you can see we pretty much had global liquidity increasing at this time. And we also had a, push in the PMI index. Now, what does this mean? Well, I think in accumulation, this pushed us above that resistance point quite confidently. Okay. Now, this had come back down again. We actually had 4 touches on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. That fourth and final one here was what we needed to then push out. But from the resistance touch 3 to resistance touch 4 here, I've highlighted this because you can essentially see in global liquidity, we just went sideways basically that whole entire time before eventually we fell down and that last and final fourth touch before going higher. Now, I want to stop right there and just say, look, guys, it's very easy for me to draw up some of these charts and look at previous, price performance and use that as an assumption for possibly future performance. And you should never really look at doing that. Of course, there are so many different variables at play every single cycle, but it's exactly that. It's cycles, guys. These things follow patterns. And as we've established, crypto, particularly Bitcoin here as that sort of leading the charge project, is synced up to global cycles. So we need to assess global cycles here as an indication as to what may happen. If global cycles were contracting, going down, tightening, and things weren't looking good, then obviously it is a sign that maybe we should be a little bit worried. But actually right now, as Julian said, they're easing, they're going up, and they're obviously expanding, which is a good thing. So looking now at the more recent times, we can see here that channel break actually occurred on touch 2. And I believe right now we're more akin to touch 4 than anything else. Okay, so touch 4 essentially now possibly being touch 3. You can see some similarities. First of all, that channel break that occurred in touch 3 in the last cycle, or 2017 cycle, that occurred here in touch 2, was propped up from, again, global liquidity increasing here, and also the ISM index, or the PMI index, breaking out above here of a score of 50. This all happened at the same time. Of course, it's going to push global liquidity up, right? We've come down and we've touched 1, 2, 3 times. Again, this is that pending fourth, which, again, we used to break out of over here. And so us in this blue line here, this third touch, might actually be the equivalent of the fourth, because you can also see here, we have come back up in global liquidity to that same point in level 2. So again, if I kind of show you over here, it's pretty much moved sideways here to touch point number 4. And again, like you can sit here and go, well, Kyron, things are obviously very similar, but is it the exact same? Absolutely not. It is different. As I said, this is touch 3, not touch 4. But what I'm expecting here is, as you can see, from this blue touch in global liquidity, we're down here at a possible low. Now, as Bitcoin's price currently is, we're about here. So we haven't fully finished coming down, or at least that's what we're all expecting, which would align perfectly with, again, being touch 4 over here, because we still had one more touch. And again, global liquidity actually went down from there as well. So keep that all in mind. Again, this is a 11-week sort of forecast in global liquidity here. So that's, of course, expecting us to have a turnaround, which would kind of signal us possibly here having a touch at a fourth and final touch before possibly coming back up and breaking out. And this would kind of roughly play out around until June of this year. So again, I know you guys are absolutely sick and tired of hearing time frames after time frames. Hey, next month we'll pump, next month we'll pump. I get it. I'm just reading the charts. Again, global liquidity is going up. China's pumping a whole bunch of money into their economy. So make of that what you possibly will. Now, I'll tell you something. Speaking of lessons learned, I learned a pretty big one myself this cycle. Don't bet against Bitcoin, at least in a bear market. Bitcoin will always outperform alts, at least based on the last few cycles. It's only the very last moment in the true euphoria where alts tend to shine, and you will have plenty of warning signs to tell you to make that rotation. For me, the biggest lesson, again, came in the fact of using Bitcoin as the big mover. Using it, for example, if I want a 30x, getting a 2 or a 3x on Bitcoin, therefore my altcoins finally, at the right moment, can get me the rest of the multiples without having to get me a 30x from start to finish. This saves you a lot of stress and hassle. So again, I just wanted to point out for those of you who believe the bear market's here and want to actually put your money where your mouth is now and liquidate your altcoin positions, first of all, non-financial advice, but I do think personally, moving forward into Bitcoin at that stage is likely the best thing. I made a video last night talking about 5 altcoins I would 100% sleep well at night knowing I own and hold during a bear market. But as far as like actionable things like selling altcoins and buying something, that to me is no doubt Bitcoin. But again, if that's you, you'd probably want to wait a little bit longer to confirm the bull or bear market is on. But again, do what you guys want. This is just my insights, my thoughts, and me reading the market, and we'll soon see what ends up happening. I do think overall it works out well for all of us. Talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.